Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, saya Muhammad Faisal Fasyukrabani dari kelas IC angkatan 3 digit yang terakhir 325. Di sini saya akan menjelaskan tentang algoritma round robin, mulai dari pengertian, cara perhitungan sampai ke implementasi. Kita mulai dari pengertian dulu. Apa itu algoritma round robin? Algoritma round robin adalah yang juga disebut round robin scheduling RRS, merupakan salah satu algoritma scheduling pada CPU, di mana semua proses yang disebutkan oleh algoritma ini akan dieksekusi secara cyclic. Dengan kata lain, algoritma ini akan menjalankan suatu proses dalam batas waktu tertentu, dan apabila proses tersebut telah berjalan melewati batas waktu yang ditentukan, maka proses ini akan otomatis diberhentikan sementara dan dimasukkan ke dalam antrian proses yang paling belakang. Kemudian algoritma ini akan lanjut menjalankan proses lain dari queue yang paling depan. Analogi algoritma round robin. Bayangkan kita berada di sebuah bank atau kantor layanan pelanggan dengan beberapa loket yang lain. Setiap pelanggan memiliki kebutuhan yang berbeda dan harus dilayani oleh teller atau petugas layanan untuk menyelesaikan transaksi mereka. Dalam skenario ini, algoritma round robin dapat diperhatikan sebagai metode antrian yang adil, di mana setiap teller di komputer disebut CPU memberikan pelayanan secara bergantian kepada setiap pelanggan dalam antrian yang di komputer disebut proses. Misalnya, jika terdapat 5 teller dan 10 pelanggan dalam antrian, setiap teller akan melayani satu pelanggan secara bergantian. Begitu selesai melayani satu pelanggan, teller akan beralih ke pelanggan berikutnya dalam antrian. Contoh hitungan. Di sini diketahui ada 4 proses yang arrival time dan burst time sebagai berikut. Proses 1, arrival time-nya 0 dan burst time-nya 8. Proses 2, arrival time-nya 3, burst time-nya 5. Proses 3, arrival time-nya 5, burst time-nya 2. Dan proses 4, arrival time-nya 6, burst time-nya 6. Kemudian kita akan hitung waiting time dan average time menggunakan metode penjadwalan round robin. Perlu kita ketahui, metode round robin yaitu metode yang setiap prosesnya memperoleh alokasi waktu CPU dalam quantum waktu yang telah diketahui. Di sini quantum time diketahui 3 milisecond. Kemudian kita akan hitung waiting time mulai dari T1, yaitu 0 milisecond ditambah 11 kurangi 3 milisecond ditambah 19 kurangi 14 milisecond dengan hasil 13 milisecond. Kemudian proses 2, 3 kurangi 3 milisecond ditambah 14 kurangi 6 milisecond sama dengan 8 milisecond. Kemudian proses 3, 6 milisecond kurangi 5 milisecond sama dengan 1 milisecond. Kemudian proses 4, 8 kurangi 6 milisecond ditambah 11 kurangi 16 kurangi 11 milisecond sama dengan 7 milisecond. Kemudian kita akan hitung average time-nya dengan rumus berikut. Jumlah waiting time dibagi jumlah proses. Kemudian kita masukkan hasil dari waiting time yang telah kita hitung tadi, yaitu 13 ditambah 8 ditambah 1 ditambah 7 kemudian dibagi 4 sama dengan 29 dibagi 4 sama dengan 7,25 milisecond. Jadi rata-rata waktu yang dibutuhkan pada metode penjadwalan round robin dengan quantum time 3 milisecond adalah 7,25 milisecond. Selanjutnya adalah implementasi algoritma round robin di dunia nyata. Yang pertama itu di dunia komputer. Yang pertama, algoritma round robin digunakan untuk sistem operasi. Banyak sistem operasi menggunakan algoritma round robin sebagai salah satu metode penjadwalan proses utamanya. Contohnya adalah sistem operasi Unix, UNIX, Linux, dan Windows. Dalam sistem operasi tersebut, CPU akan secara bergantian mengeksekusi setiap proses dalam antrian berdasarkan aturan round robin. Kedua, server web. Dalam server web yang melayani permintaan dari banyak pengguna secara bersamaan, algoritma round robin dapat digunakan untuk menentukan penjadwalan akses ke sumber daya server. Misalnya, jika ada beberapa permintaan HTTP dari pengguna yang masuk dalam waktu bersamaan, server dapat menggunakan algoritma round robin untuk mendistribusikan waktu pemrosesan server secara adil di antara permintaan tersebut. Ketiga, load balancer. Algoritma round robin juga sering digunakan dalam sistem load balancing untuk mendistribusikan lalu lintas jaringan secara merata di antara beberapa server yang tersedia. Load balancer akan menerapkan algoritma round robin untuk memilih server yang akan melayani permintaan masuk berikutnya, sehingga mencegah satu server menjadi overload sementara server lainnya tidak terpakai. Keempat, manajemen CPU di virtual machine. Dalam lingkungan virtualisasi, hypervisor menggunakan algoritma round robin untuk menentukan alokasi waktu CPU bagi berbagai mesin virtual yang berjalan di atasnya. Ini memastikan bahwa setiap mesin virtual mendapatkan bagian yang adil dari sumber daya CPU yang tersedia. Selanjutnya, implementasi algoritma round robin di dunia nyata di dalam kehidupan sehari-hari. Yang pertama yaitu pada antrian layanan pelanggan. Misalnya, dalam layanan pelanggan di bank atau kantor layanan, konsep round robin dapat diterapkan dengan melayani pelanggan secara bergantian. Setiap petugas layanan mengambil pelanggan berikutnya dalam antrian untuk memastikan pelayanan yang adil kepada semua pelanggan. Kedua, rotasi tugas dalam tim. Dalam tim atau kelompok kerja, konsep round robin dapat diterapkan dengan melakukan rotasi tugas secara bergantian di antara anggota tim. Ini membantu mencegah satu orang tidak terlalu terbebani dengan tugas tersebut dan memastikan bahwa semua anggota tim memiliki kesempatan yang sama untuk berkontribusi. Selanjutnya, nomor 3, penjadwalan. Algoritma round robin digunakan untuk penjadwalan penggunaan fasilitas umum. Misalnya, dalam penjadwalan penggunaan fasilitas umum seperti lapangan olahraga atau ruang rapat, sistem round robin dapat digunakan untuk memberikan waktu yang adil kepada setiap kelompok atau individu yang ingin menggunakan fasilitas tersebut. Keempat, pembagian tugas rumah tangga. Dalam rumah tangga, konsep round robin dapat diterapkan dalam pembagian tugas seperti membersihkan rumah, memasak, atau merawat kebun. Setiap anggota keluarga bergantian melakukan tugas-tugas ini untuk memastikan tanggung jawab yang adil dan terbagi secara merata. Selesai, terima kasih. Semoga apa yang saya jelaskan bisa jelas. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hey, what's up guys, Tanmaya for Simple Snippets, and in this video tutorial, we are going to be looking into the round robin CPU scheduling algorithm. If you have missed the previous tutorials wherein we discussed the FCFS, SJF and SRT scheduling algorithms, you can check out in this tutorial playlist and I'll put the links in the description as well. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, we have three different processes P0, P1 and P2 with the respective arrival time and burst time. So arrival time is the time when the process came into the queue, and burst time is the time that the CPU requires to actually complete the process. So in this case, you know that P0 came in at 0th second inside the queue, and the CPU will require 7 milliseconds to complete P0. Similarly for P1 and P2. Now we have to find out the completion time, turnaround time and waiting time, and lastly we also have to find out the average turnaround time and average waiting time. Now in round robin, we have a criteria which is known as quantum, and quantum in this case is 3 milliseconds. So this quantum is the maximum time the CPU can give a process at a single point of time before it will pause that process and move to another process inside the queue. So in round robin, the CPU will keep on switching between processes, and this will give it the capability of preemption, and this ultimately reduces the waiting time. So you'll understand better when we actually go ahead and plot the Gantt chart for the same. So let's get started. So at time 0, we know that P0 came into the queue. So CPU will start processing P0. So let me just write down P0 over here in the Gantt chart. So this is at time 0, and we know that at 0th second there is no other process. So CPU will start processing P0, and after 3 milliseconds, that is after the quantum of 3 milliseconds, the CPU will see if there is another process inside the queue. Now we know that when 3 seconds have passed, P1 has already arrived in the queue because P1 came in at time equal to 2. So P1 has arrived inside the queue. So now the CPU will stop processing P0 and move to P1, and P0 will again be added inside the queue. So you can see that CPU processed P0 from 0 to 3, but P0 actually requires 7 milliseconds, but CPU has only processed it for 3 milliseconds. So 7 minus 3, which we can write down over here, which is 4. Now this 4 milliseconds is the time that the process P0 still requires to complete itself. But since the CPU has paused P0 and moved on to P1, from the 3rd millisecond we will start processing of P1. Now the CPU is at P1, and P1 you can see requires 4 milliseconds. So the CPU will first process it for 3 milliseconds according to the quantum. So that is 3 plus 3, which would give us 6. And by the time it is 6 milliseconds, we know that P2 has also arrived because P2 arrived at 4 milliseconds. So you can write P2 over here. And now since the quantum is done, that is P1 is processed for 3 milliseconds, now the CPU will switch to P0, which is next in the queue, and pause P1. So P1 will be paused and again added in the queue because P1 required 4 milliseconds but it only got 3 milliseconds. So you can write down 1 over here, and 1 millisecond is the time which P1 still requires to complete itself. So that is why we paused P1 and added it inside the queue, and now we are on P0 again because it was added inside the queue for the first time when it was paused over here. So now we know P0 requires 4 milliseconds. So let me just write down P0 over here. CPU will again process P0 for 3 milliseconds, that is from 6 to 9, and it will check inside the queue whether any other process is there. We know that P2 and P1 are still waiting. So P0 will again be paused at 9th millisecond. So from 6 to 9 it processed for 3 milliseconds and it required 4 milliseconds. So we still have 1 millisecond which is needed by P0, and then we just need to add it again inside the queue. Now CPU will move to P2. Now P2 is being processed for the first time, but we know that P2 requires only 1 millisecond. So from 9 to 10, CPU will process P2 and it will completely finish it. So writing 0 over here, which means that P0 is, or which means that P2 is completely processed. So now it will move to P1. Now we don't need to add P2 over here because P2 is completely finished by the CPU. Now P1 requires 1 millisecond. So from 10 to 11, P1 will be processed, and you can cancel this out. You can cancel this out as well. You can write down 0 over here because P1 is also finished over here, and then it will move to P0. Now P0 is the last process remaining inside the queue, and you can see that P0 requires only 1 millisecond. So from 11 to 12, P0 will be executed by CPU, and then it will be finished. So you can see that P2, P1, P0 have all been finished by checking this 000 number, which means that they have been completely processed by the CPU. So this is the final Gantt chart. So now we can go ahead and calculate completion time, turnaround time and waiting time. For P0, you can see that P0 finished itself at 12th millisecond. So you can just write down 12 over here. For P1, you can see that the last instance of P1 inside this Gantt chart is this, and it got finished at 11th millisecond. And for P2, you can see that it was finished at 10th millisecond. So just write down 10 over here. Now we have turnaround time, which is given by the formula completion time minus arrival time. So 12 minus 0, which is 12. We have 11 minus 2, which is 9, and 10 minus 4, which is 6. Now the waiting time is turnaround time minus burst time. So turnaround time is 12 and arrival time, or the burst time here, is 7. So 12 minus 7 will give us 5. 9 minus 4 will give us 5, and 6 minus 1 would give us again 5. So each of the process had to wait for 5 seconds. Now if you don't know these formulas, you can still find out turnaround time and waiting time by knowing what they actually mean. So turnaround time is the time spent by the process inside the queue. So for P0, we know that it came in at 0th second and it completed at 12 seconds. So it spent total 12 milliseconds inside the queue. So that is the reason why the turnaround time is 12. Similarly, you can calculate that for P1 and P2. And the waiting time is the time it had to wait. So you can see that P0 came in at 0th second and it got the CPU time instantly. But after 3 seconds, it had to wait till 6 seconds. So it had to wait 3 seconds. And then again it had to wait from 9 to 11, which is 2 milliseconds. So 3 seconds it had to wait over here and 2 milliseconds it had to wait over here. So 3 plus 2 would give us 5. Similarly, you can calculate that for P1 and P2 as well. Okay, so now we have the total turnaround time, which is just the sum of these values. So 12 plus 9 plus 6, which is 27, and sum of waiting time, which is 15. Now the average turnaround time can be found by total turnaround time divided by the number of processes, which is in this case 27 divided by 3, which is 9 millisecond. Again, average waiting time can be found by total waiting time divided by number of processes, which is 15 divided by 3, which is again 5 millisecond. So yeah, this is the final answers that we needed to find out using round robin CPU scheduling algorithm. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you understood the round robin CPU scheduling algorithm, and if you have any queries, you can always put them in the comment section. Also, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.